Normally I steer clear of politics because nothing good ever comes out of it, throwing your hat in the political ring. But this is just beyond stupidity for on a lot of levels. Donald Trump says he's pursuing 100% tariffs on movies produced outside U.S., calling Runaway Production a national security threat. I don't know how movies being produced outside of the U.S. are a national security threat, since U.S. productions have been since movies. Oh, what am I trying to say? That American productions have been shooting outside of the United States for decades, even going back to Ben-Hur. You realize that the original, that not the original Ben-Hur, the one from 1959 with Charlton Heston, the one everyone claims is original but is actually the second remake. The famous version of Ben-Hur from 1959 was all shot in Italy, and that was an American production, directed, I believe, by a German filmmaker, which was kind of ironic. Donald Trump says that I'm pulling all this from Deadline Hollywood, by the way. I should have said that in the very beginning. Donald Trump said that he is ordering the U.S. Trade Representative and the Commerce Department to begin the process to impose a 100% tariff on imports of movies that are produced in quote-unquote foreign lands, calling Runaway Production a national security threat. Trump's comments follow reports that one of his quote-unquote special ambassadors to Hollywood, John Voight, of all fucking people, was devising a plan to save the entertainment industry. Trump wrote on Truth Social, which I'm gonna admit I have absolutely zero idea what Truth Social is, nor do I really care to know what it is. Quote, "The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. This is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Therefore, I am authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again." End quote. Again, American film productions have been shooting outside of the United States for decades. So, the biggest question out of all of this is, how in the fuck is this a national security threat? Not only that, how does Donald Trump actually plan on collecting any tariffs on these movies? Because last time I checked, movies are not shot on celluloid anymore, meaning that they're not actually coming in on physical reels. So there's no physical reels that are actually being shipped back to the United States on boats. Everything is now done digitally. Not just movies shot digitally, but even movies are being transmitted over the internet. So if you can only collect tariffs at the ports and at the border, how are you going to stop an internet transmission? The only way you're going to be able to do that is by putting in geo-blocking restrictions, which even a 2-year-old can very easily circumvent. This is what it is. I think all this is, and I don't want to raise alarm bells. Mostly what I just want to say is basically Donald Trump is basically just doing nothing. It's nothing more than saber rattling. Because these proposed tariffs are not going to affect Disney or Paramount or Warner Bros. The actual genuine runaway productions. The only movies that are going to be hurt by it are going to be movies like Sisu, which was a finished war film that came out a couple years ago. Movies like Amelie and Chocolat. Basically, all these foreign movies that their market share is very, very tiny. Most of you have probably never even seen these, but here we go. I also missed this. Trump later told reporters, quote, "Other nations have been stealing the movie-making capability of the United States. I said to a couple people, what do you think? I have done some very strong research over the last week, and we are making very few movies now. Hollywood is being destroyed. Now you have a grossly incompetent governor that allowed that to happen. So I'm not just blaming other nations, but other nations, a lot of them have stolen our movie industry. if they are not willing to make a movie inside the United States, and we should have a tariff on movies that come in. And not only that, governments are actually giving big money. They are supporting them financially. So that is sort of a threat to our country in a sense. It's been a very popular thing. Movie makers love it. End quote. Again, the reason why it's not even tax breaks. If you look at the cost of even shooting in LA, this is why many movies and shows shoot in Vancouver and have that double as LA. Hell, there's a lot of movies that shot in Bulgaria that doubled as LA because it was cheaper to shoot the movie or show in Bulgaria and have Bulgaria double as Los Angeles than shooting in Los Angeles itself. Because what happened back many decades ago is all this red tape got put up on all of these productions, and what it was meant to do is it was meant to limit competition at the time. But now all that red tape has come back to bite them in the ass, and now shooting in Los Angeles proper is so expensive that it's cheaper to just go to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. It's cheaper to go to Bulgaria. It's cheaper to go to Australia. The movie San Andreas with The Rock, Carla Gugino, and Alexandra Daddario, set entirely in Los Angeles, but was shot in Australia because it was cheaper to shoot the entire movie in Australia than it was to keep shooting in LA. I'm gonna pull an older example, but even the final seasons of Baywatch. I believe the first, 8 seasons of Baywatch actually shot in Los Angeles. The last 2 seasons, which later became Baywatch Hawaii, they were actually eyeing shooting in Australia because even back in the 90s, early 2000s, it was significantly cheaper to shoot in Australia. And the last 2 seasons of Baywatch got really close to shooting Australia if it wasn't for protests from the local Australians and talking about and the big protest at the time was how the local beaches were going to be taken over by the production. The locals were going to lose out. Blah 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 blah. So the last 2 seasons of Baywatch did not film in Australia, but they filmed in Hawaii. Anyway, I'm just rambling on and on. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna end this video right here before I drag this out any longer than it needs to be. But again, I don't see how he actually enforces doing this because you can't, because you can only collect tariffs at the ports or at the border. So you would be talking about doing a bunch of geo-blocking restrictions, which are so easy to circumvent anyway. Again, I think it's nothing more than saber rattling, because there's no actual practical way of putting this into practice. This actually reminds me of what happened a few years ago. Again, I don't really discuss politics, but I do remember this, where Trump actually signed an executive order that was targeting social media companies and basically trying to impose, free speech on social media companies. And everyone and their mother at the time, this was back, I believe, May of 2020. I'm pulling this right from CNN. And everybody and their mother at the time asked him one simple question: Mr. Trump, how do you plan on actually enforcing your executive order on these social media companies like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube? Oh, that's right. You actually can't enforce this executive order. So he signed this executive order that targeted social media companies about to try to open up free speech at the time, but it was largely an unenforceable executive order. That's all these tariffs are going to do. Even if he were successful in getting 100% tariffs on movies produced outside of the U.S., including Runaway Productions, how does he actually plan on collecting the tariffs at this point? He probably fucking can't. So don't sound the alarm bells. This guy's just a saber-rattling idiot that just wants to generate headlines for people to talk about him, because the Oscar Wilde school of thought is the only bad press is when the press is no longer talking about you.